A night to remember at Crooner's Supper Club. Incredible live music, 4-star food, handcrafted drinks, and first-class service, all in the classic supper club setting. Don't miss out. Visit croonersmn.com to plan your perfect night out. That's croonersmn.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPTA 20, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome to The Gailey Show, the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show in the United States. I am your host, John Parker. Jim Pounds, executive producer, here in the studio with me.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Or good morning if you're in Chicago.
In Chicago.
And Patrick's in the studio. Hey, Patrick.
I'll say good evening to those listening in Iceland. At least.
Oh, good
That's
call. Right. We had our special coverage yesterday of our time at Reykjavik Pride in the beginning of August. And that video on YouTube has the highest number of views of anything we've done so far here at The Gailey Show. So you can go to youtube.com/@TheGailey or you can find it everywhere you get your podcasts, or you can go to heartlandsignal.com or am950radio.com. It was 45 minutes of coverage, and it was really fun, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
My learning from that is that I shouldn't say anything because I don't believe I spoke during that episode.
Well, there was a lot to get through.
I know.
A lot of interviews.
I admired everything you were doing.
A lot of, yeah, it was good stuff. All right, what is on today's show? So in the second half hour, Tammye Nash, managing editor of The Dallas Voice, is back. She has some wild reporting from the state as Texas, Democrats are back, still trying to do what they can to stop Texas from rigging the 2026 election. But the antics of MAGA down there, wow. Trump has already implemented 69% of Project 2025. We're going to break it down for you. Up first, a federal judge struck down Florida's book ban law, or part of it. And yay, the gays have free speech again.
Wow.
For now.
Mm-hmm.
So this bill was actually separate from the Don't Say Gay law. It was House Bill 1069. DeSantis signed it in 2023. The goal of it was to get parents to challenge books in school libraries. And once a book was challenged, then it had to be removed within 5 days of the filing of the complaint. The books had to stay unavailable for the duration of the review. And books that had, quote, pornographic or, quote, described sexual conduct had to be removed. The problem is, as District Court Judge Carlos Mendoza found, what ended up being banned wasn't pornography. So the following books, and this is just a little bit of all the books he listed in his decision: The Color Purple, The Freedom Writer's Diary, How a Teacher and 150 Teens Used Writing to Change Themselves and the World Around Them. That book was banned. The Kite Runner, Native Son, The Bluest Eye, just a partial list. According to Judge Mendoza, who in my editorial opinion found correctly that none of these books were obscene. Right. According to the Associated Press, last year, Florida led the nation, partially because of this law, with 4,500 removals of books from school libraries. Judge Mendoza said that the Florida government is now required to use the Miller test moving forward to determine a book's suitability within the K-12, P-12 school system. Now, the Miller test, I was like, what's that? The Miller test came from a court decision from the Supreme Court in 1973, Miller v. California. The Chief Justice, Warren Burger, at the time outlined 3 steps for the Miller test. Number 1, whether the average person applying contemporary community standards would find that the work taken as a whole appeals to the prurient interest. Number 2, whether the work depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual conduct specifically defined by applicable state law. And number 3, whether or not the work taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. So that is the 3 6-prong test now, the Miller test, that Florida is required to use. Dan Novak, who is a vice president and associate general counsel for Penguin Random House, said after the ruling, if a district did not put the books back, then they are risking a lawsuit. If you don't do the right thing, a student or a parent or an author or a publisher or an educator can vindicate their rights now. This is a huge lawsuit because the biggest publishers in the world were the plaintiffs here. So we had Penguin Random House, Simon and Schuster, HarperCollins publishers, Macmillan Publishers, Hachette Book Group, and Source Books. Also part of the group suing the state of Florida included authors. This was Angie Thomas, who was the author of The Hate You Give, Jodi Picoult, author of My Sister's Keeper, John Green, who wrote The Fault in Our Stars, uber popular YA book, and Julia Alvarez, who is the author of How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents. Unfortunately, Florida is expected to appeal the ruling. It will likely end up at the Supreme Court, where Florida may likely win, actually, given the conservatives have already said that Christians have veto power over curriculum in public schools. This was Mahmoud versus Taylor earlier this year. I mean, did I know that I was going to need a law degree when I was running this show? There's so much happening in the courts. Let me finish my point here about what the Supreme Court has already done. In that case, in June, the Christian nationalist judges on the court wrote that because religious schools are too expensive, and just because religious parents can't afford it means that they can veto curriculum that violates their faith tradition. I'm not lying. This is actually written in the decision. So they can pull their students from any classes that have any curriculum, particularly right now, LGBTQ curriculum that violates their faith traditions. What this ends up doing in practice is create such a huge administrative burden that schools are already scrapping anything that might violate Christian sensitive snowflake sensibilities. Do you like the alliteration there?
Yeah. I think another way to think about this is I don't believe they're just protecting their absurd beliefs, which they have a right to believe, I guess, but I think they're using this as a way to prevent other people, your kids, who you don't want to be stupid, who you don't want to be ignorant about other people, who you don't want to hate other people. You're keeping them, they want to keep them just as ignorant as they are. And to me, that's the crime. That's the crime that is inexcusable. I want to somehow screw with your kids. I've already screwed up my kids. Now I'm going to screw up your kids.
So the so-called reasonable person here is saying, well, what's the big deal, John? Like, they're just saying the parents can pull their kids from the classroom and you can still teach it. Well, how does that work in practice? And we've talked to teachers about this, particularly in an episode of our other show, This Queer Book Saved My Life. What ends up happening is the teacher has to find a place where the students have been pulled, who said they know they can't be part of it. They have to find a place for them to be. They can't just be allowed to sit there by themselves. So there has to be someone monitoring them. They have to do something. So there has to be curriculum for them to do. And so it creates this additional administrative burden for the teachers. Additionally, you have school counsel, so legal counsel, who are monitoring what's going on and telling school boards and administrators to not err on the side of even being considered controversial. So this is where, when I say that Christians now have the ability to veto school curriculum by using such an onerous process, by making it so difficult for this to do, they are effectively banning this material, to your point, Jim, where parents who want their kids to read these books, to learn this material, are no longer allowed to do that because they've made it so difficult for the teachers to teach it.
Because these wackadoodles can't afford an expensive religious school. Well, you know what?
That's the part.
Toenails.
That's the part that got me. Was the fact they literally wrote that into the decision, that because it's too expensive, that shouldn't mean that the state has to.
No.
I just.
This stuff needs to be buried 100 feet deep in the ground. That's just ridiculous. I feel bad for all the kids that are good kids that want to learn, that aren't biased idiots, that don't have biased idiots as parents, and they're being hurt. And that is just criminal to me. It's unforgivable.
Well, how many things have they told us? Well, you have no right to that because you can't afford it.
Right.
Oh, I know.
Right. I know.
Patrick, absolutely.
Thank you, Patrick.
Absolutely.
You're right.
You know, what is the new work requirements? You have to work 80 hours a month for Medicaid.
Right.
And everyone, the so-called reasonable people are like, well, yeah, they should. Hey, guess what? The folks who can work 80 hours or can do the work requirements are already working 80 hours a
Right.
month. The people that can't are grandma.
Right.
She can't work 80 hours.
Right.
You know what I mean? The person who can't, you know, has mobility issues, they can't work 80 hours a
Well.
week. And guess what? Those folks rather cannot go into a field and
Yeah.
pick strawberries,
That's right. Get out there, Grandma.
which is what the Trump administration said. They're like,
Yeah.
well, guess what? We now have all these work rulings,
Yeah.
requirements rather, for Medicaid, and we just arrested all of the undocumented workers. So now you can go out and
Grandma.
work. We have jobs for you.
Get Grandma out of the convalescent hospital and out into the fields. That's great. What a good strategy, Labor
So
Secretary.
we can at least celebrate for now. Thank you, Circuit District Court Judge Mendoza,
Mhm.
for finding that, yes, queer Americans actually do have free speech rights,
Huh.
and we should enjoy them for as long as we have them for now.
Skull.
Skull. Should you explain that
No,
to
I'm not going.
non-Minnesotans?
It's like cheers.
Yes, it's cheers.
Yeah.
Scandinavian way of saying cheers.
That's right.
Skull. All right. So I just found this through LGBTQnation.com. Excellent website for queer news. That there is a tracker. It's called Project 2025. You can find it online yourself. It's project2025.observer,
Mm.
where they are tracking how much of Project 2025 has been implemented. Shoot, I already told you this earlier today. What do you guess is the percentage of Project 2025 as it relates to the LGBTQ community has been implemented?
That's a harder one because I think most people tend to think of Project 2025 as a singular thing. So what percent of that has been implemented? I don't really know for LGBT, because I do think they have a lot more awful things coming for all of us.
Well, so many different levels.
Do you know what
State,
I mean? So I guess
federal.
I'm thinking it's a smaller number. I'm thinking it's 40%.
69%.
Wow.
There are 18 total objectives
Good.
in
Yes.
Project 2025 coming
Yes.
after the LGBTQ community.
Yes.
11 of them are done. 3 are in progress. We're going to break them down after we come back from this break. You are listening to The Gailey Show on AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk. Follow us on Blue Sky for more progressive news and analysis. We're at thegaileyshow.org on Blue Sky.
This is Mitch, owner of Junk Masters. Feeling overwhelmed by clutter? Spring's the perfect time to reclaim your space and peace of mind. Renting a dumpster is costly, and it all ends up in the landfill. Just show us what goes. We give usable items a second life by donating them. No calling all over town trying to figure out who takes what. We do the legwork for you. Easy, cost-effective, and local. There's no obligation. Visit junkmastersmn.com today.
It's no secret that medical care costs are soaring, with nursing home and skilled nursing care costs being some of the highest. You don't have to deplete your savings in order to receive long-term care. At Schroman Law, we work with families to develop and implement strategic planning for medical assistance for long-term care, for assisted living, nursing home care, or home-based care. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. You know, over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about outdoor fires. Sitting around a fire is the oldest, most basic form of human activity.
What's new is in the way fire is burned. We can show you how to burn cleaner with a lot less smoke.
The radiant heat and light from an open fire is unmatched. It kindles our spirits and connects us to the outdoors. And now it's easier to experience and enjoy.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs wood and gas burning fire pits and fireplaces. Let us help you experience an outdoor fire without all the smoke.
Come see the many ways you can enjoy a fire outdoors.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
This is Alex Knorr from Buzzcut Mowing, a young, hardworking entrepreneur serving the Southwest Metro with affordable lawn care. I take the hard work off your plate with weekly mowing. I also offer leaf cleanups, aeration, dethatching, tree trimming, and mulch installation. I'll keep your lawn beautiful so you can enjoy your weekends with the people who matter most. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com. That's buzzcutmowingmn.com.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I am John Parker in studio with my executive producer, Jim Pounds. We are coming up on the bottom of the hour. So there is a website, project2025.observer, where you can go and check this out yourself, that is tracking the progress of the implementation of Project 2025. And I know probably this goes without saying, but they made a big deal of this during the campaign last year. The Republicans, Trump specifically, that he had nothing to do with Project 2025, that he wouldn't hire anybody from the Heritage Foundation that had worked on it, that was not his policy. It was not what he was about. Well, of course, literally the day after the election, all of MAGA was saying, this is exactly what we're doing. The Trump, transition team said, we're doing 2025. Ha ha ha.
Right.
All right. So let's break down the ones that have been completed. So over at the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the goal was to end data collection on gender identity. That has been completed and done. Over at the Department of Education, there were 4 objectives. One was to rescind the Biden-era Title IX rules that strengthened the ability to prosecute sexual assault and discrimination cases. Cool. Glad we got rid of that. Also, the issue rules and guidance that sex is properly understood as fixed biological fact. So propaganda. That's great. Rescind the Biden-era guidance that added a non-binary option in civil rights data collected from schools. Awesome. More propaganda. And then finally, abandon the redefinition of sex to sexual orientation and gender identity in Title IX. Interestingly, they did this, I need to get my law degree, in, I would say violation, but we'll see how this goes with the Supreme Court ruling Bostwick v. somebody. I'm blanking on the name of it, which is why I'm not a lawyer. I just know it as the Bostwick decision.
Yeah.
That we'll see about that. All right, so that was the Department of Education. And the Department of Defense, they said the use of public monies for transgender surgeries should be ended. They have apparently completed that. And then reverse policies that allow transgender individuals to serve in the military. That is complete. And they are going about the final processes of removing folks. I believe there's at least one lawsuit that may still be in play, but they are even going so far as to say that folks service members who have been there longer than 15 years are actually not going to get the full retirement benefits that they've earned. Awesome.
I hope those 15,000 people stay ready.
Okay, Jim. So at the White House, there were 3 objectives. 2 of which have been completed. One is removing the words sexual orientation and gender identity, diversity, equity, and inclusion, abortion, reproductive health, and gender equity from every federal rule.
Mhm.
Also, they have completed revoking Executive Order 14020, which established the Gender Policy Council. All right. Over at Department of Health and Human Services, they have completed only one of their 4 goals. Another one is in progress. We're going to get to the in progress ones here in a second. What they have completed is reversing prohibitions on healthcare discrimination based on gender identity. Awesome. All right. Department of Labor has completed providing robust accommodations for religious employees. They have done this in addition to Trump's Christian, the executive order that said that they're going to end discrimination against Christian employees in the federal workforce. How this is largely manifesting, though, is that if you work in a federal agency now, your Christian colleague can come up to you on breaks and ask you if you've accepted Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior.
Can you throw your orange juice into their face? Is that allowable?
I don't know.
Okay. That would be my first instinct.
And then the DOJ has not started their objective yet.
Well,
86% of LGBTQ voters in 2024 said, no, we do not want this ticket. And they voted for the Harris-Walz candidacy. It was over a 20-point increase from 2020, where just over 60% of LGBTQ voters voted for Biden. The only group that voted more percentage-wise for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz were Black women, 93%.
Thank you, Black women.
Largely driven by Project 2025, and not only the LGBTQ portions of this in exit surveys, but clearly, this was top of mind for LGBTQ voters. I want to point out on this tracker, they also have the time until the end of term. There are 1,249 days left of this administration. And the thing that gets me is that we're only 6 months in, just over 6 months. We are going to go 3.5 more years without any of this. We're going to go 3.5 more years without trans service members in the armed services. We're going to go 3.5 more years without funding for, like, the Corporation of Public Broadcasting is gone. We're going to go 3.5 more years without these protections from the Department of Education, and they're likely going to close the Department of Education. That is a very long time here. For me, part of this is that they're trying to shut down as many things as possible so quickly so that we have to spend 3.5 more years without any of this.
Well, and that's to say nothing of the fact that they're not, the food safety work is not being done, the climate work is not being done, the protection against pandemics is not being done. So they've put 258 million people, not just the LGBT community, at tremendous risk. Frankly, they've put all of us, even themselves and their own stupid families, at incredible risk.
And I know this is something that I keep talking about, and you're going to hear me talking about it for the next 3.5 years. Priority number 1 is the Supreme Court in 2029. If you're not willing to reform the court, that court is a Christian nationalist court. They're going to do everything they can to keep all of this in place, which will be in place for 3.5 more years before we even get a shot at it. If we win in 2026, that will blunt and stop the damage in terms of legislation coming through Congress, even if you get one chamber, the House or the Senate.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a big, huge vision from the Democratic Party about what they are going to do once they're back in office. I know, Jimmy, you want to jump in here, and unfortunately I have to hit a hard break, and then we're going to have Tammye Nash, the managing editor from the Dallas Voice. Lots of things to think about. Thank you, Tammye. I just saw that in the Bostock versus Clayton County. Tammy's got my back. All right, we are going to take a break here. When we come back, Tammye Nash.
Hello, Minnesota. This is Tom Hartman, and you can catch me every weekday from 11 to 2 right here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's smart radio for smart people.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our local leaders. How do you reward your employees? How do you appreciate your business partners? Thousands of local organizations just like yours count on Minuteman Uptown for promotional products. We craft custom awards and plaques. We print your logo on apparel, office supplies, and thousands of other items. Minuteman Uptown helps you reward employees and stay top of mind with customers and vendors. We print everything. Contact us today at mpuptown.com.
Summer is going fast, but Next Chapter Booksellers has everything you need to keep up with your summer reading. From the hottest new titles to timeless classics, Next Chapter Booksellers has something for any taste. Their friendly staff are great at making recommendations for the perfect summer read for you or your loved ones. Plus, Next Chapter Booksellers has a wide variety of puzzles and games for those rainy days. So keep up with your summer reading at Next Chapter Booksellers off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh, every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
Hey friends, John Parker here from The Gailey Show. Traveling as a queer person or with queer friends and family needs to be worry-free, relaxing, and with a sparkle of adventure. So that's why for the past 10 years, I head up to the Fresh Coast and Michigan's Marquette County. With its spectacular fall colors, dozens of hiking trails, local breweries, good food, eclectic shopping, and its historic downtown, and even a film festival, it's just what I need for a long weekend getaway. Join me and head up to the Fresh Coast. Visit travelmarquette.com to start your journey.
The Brave New Workshop is a Minneapolis tradition and the nation's longest-running comedy theater, finding ways to make people laugh about things that should make them cry for over 65 years. And who doesn't need a good laugh right now? Seriously, who doesn't need a laugh? Come see their fall show, Hippocalypse Now, a hilarious look at a world where what people say and what people do are completely unrelated. Playing now through November 1st at the Dudley Riggs Theater in Minneapolis. Tickets available at hennepinarts.org. That's hennepinarts.org. With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies today with a high near 85. Tonight clear with a low around 66. And Wednesday sunny with a high around 82. Make it a night to remember at Crooner's Supper Club. Incredible live music, 4-star food, handcrafted drinks, and first-class service, all in the classic supper club setting. Don't miss out. Visit croonersmn.com to plan your perfect night out. That's croonersmn.com. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Welcome back to The Gailey Show. I'm your host, John Parker. My executive producer, Jim Pounds, is here with me in the studio. It is 33 minutes after the hour. Dallas Voice just started its 42nd year as the voice of the LGBTQ community in North Texas and beyond. You can visit their website at dallasvoice.com for their award-winning journalism and their social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. Tammye Nash has worked as a professional journalist, spending more than 30 of those years as a writer and editor for Dallas Voice, the LGBTQ media source for North Texas and beyond. In her spare time, she takes photos, mainly of birds and flowers and the dog. Tammye joins us here bi-weekly. Tammye, what the fork is happening in Texas right
now? A lot of crap.
All right, let's start with, so the Democrats are back. So they came back to the state, and they came back this weekend, correct?
Mm-hmm. But they came back with a plan.
Ooh. Which is
it's like, well, it's already working in that they've communicated with Democrats outside of Texas who are going to take steps in their states to offset this gerrymandering redistricting maps here. California, and I may not have this exactly right, so if I miss something, now let me know. My understanding that California has a plan in place that if Texas implements this redistricting map that's going to take 5 seats away from Democrats and hand them to Republicans, even though they have to have these, ridiculously drawn districts to get that, then that puts into motion a plan in California where California will get those 5 Democratic seats back, possibly more, from what I understand. And it's fixed so that, from my understanding, that plan is written to avoid some of the pitfalls that, like, oh, you can't go in and do this because this is gerrymandered, and their state laws are probably, better than ours in that respect. But so they came back with this, but they also came back with a plan to immediately, as soon as this is passed, they're going to file legal challenges in the courts, and hopefully that could stop it long enough for the midterms to happen, because that's the goal here. Obviously, that's the Republican goal, is we're going to screw over the Democrats because everybody knows that we're on course right now for the Democrats to take control of at least the House of Representatives in DC. Mm-hmm. But let's stop. That's what they want to do, is just cheat. Basically, I mean, there's no other word for it. They're going to cheat so they can win enough seats to keep control of the House. Because the will of the people is irrelevant to some of them.
Apparently.
But I mean, so the Democrats are supposedly already ready to file a lawsuit. But I was just working on a thing for our website here. There's a group called the Brooks Plaintiffs. And no, I don't know who the Brooks Plaintiffs are. I don't think they're related to me, although I have some Brooks relatives. But there's a group called Lone Star Project. And they put out this press release this morning that this group called the Brooks Plaintiffs have already filed a motion in Western District Federal Court in El Paso saying this is BS. You can't allow this. You've got to. And there's a I think this is the court that's already sitting on a decision, hasn't issued any kind of decision on from 4 years on a voting rights lawsuit challenging the district maps for the state house and the state senate, saying these are bad and unfair and violate the Voting Rights Act and all this. And from what they're saying, that's been 4 months sitting around waiting on. 4 years sitting around waiting on a hearing. That's what I'm looking at this press conference. But they've already filed this in that court. And if the Texas House Democrats or the Democratic Party or some other entity files in a different court, that improves the chances. But here's the really...
I know we can't swear.
Yes.
I really want to.
It's right there, it's right there on the edge of my tongue. But this is the blindingly, to me, illegal. I don't know how else to say it. And I'm not not an attorney. On Monday, Democrats show back up in the Texas House. And when everybody gets in, Speaker of the House is a Republican, obviously. His name is Dustin Barrows. By the way, who was elected Speaker only with the help of certain Democrats because he was better than the alternative. Dustin Barrows had them lock the doors to the Texas House floor, the chamber, lock the doors with everybody in there and say nobody gets out without a written permission slip from the teacher. That's my wording. And those folks who left the state to break quorum, you don't get your permission slip to get out until you sign a piece of paper agreeing to have a Texas Department of Safety, I think it's DPS officer, follow you around until you come back in here on Wednesday and we vote on redistricting. obviously keep people from leaving the state again, which there was one lady, her name is Nicole Collier, state rep Nicole Collier. She's from the Fort Worth, her district is in Fort Worth. And she basically gave them the middle finger and said, nope, I won't do it. So it's mine. She was locked in the House chamber for most of the night. I believe at one point, there's pictures of her online. You look it up, she's laying there in the chamber, a little face mask on, snoozing in her seat. Overnight, I believe at some point they allowed her to go to her office, but she was still locked within the Capitol building and unable to leave the Capitol building. I had asked and never got a question, could we DoorDash some cookies or something? And I don't know if they would let them in with cookies, but so that's what they're doing. And I mean, is it just me, or is that just blatant?
Like incarceration.
Yeah, kidnapping. Illegal. What do they call it? Illegal restraint or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These people have no legal right to do what they've done.
Right.
And as far as I know, again, not an attorney, just a person with a little bit of common sense.
Can they force someone, a legislator no less, to sign anything of any type?
Oh, I don't think so. But it's either you sign this or you don't leave. And they're not like literally holding her hand on there, making her put her name on it.
Yeah.
But I don't, so I guess it would depends on how you design.
Is she still there?
How you define force? But I believe she's still there.
Wow. Good for her.
She thankfully she's got enough guts to stay there and say,
yeah,
no. And this is another thing that blows my mind. This is a woman, first of all, of color, right? Not to mention a duly elected state official, sit there by the people of her district, but a woman of color. Do they not have any clue how bad the optics are with this? You have locked up a duly elected state legislature as a woman of color to make her do what you want. How do we not have National Guard storming the doors on this? I don't understand.
Or patriotic Texans of one kind or another. Yeah.
You're literally being held against your will.
Yeah.
I mean, can you call 911 and say, "Hey, sheriff's department, get me out of here"?
Yeah, sure. If the sheriff's department's not controlled by the Republicans, right? I don't know Austin County or Tarrant. That's not Tarrant. It's not Austin County. It's Travis County. But yeah, I would think so. I mean, I know that there were people in the halls of the Capitol outside the House chamber last night protesting what was going on. I mean, there's video that you can watch. I don't have a link to it, but there is video that shows. I mean, this guy's standing here talking about, can you believe this crap is happening? And in the background, you can hear the voices. It's huge. The chants, free Nicole, free Nicole, free Nicole. But they don't care. They just feel like they have, I guess they feel like that, they don't have to even pretend like they're trying to be democratic anymore. I don't know.
You've been covering Texas for quite some time now.
40-something years, yes.
40-something years. Is there any parallel to this in the time that you've been covering? Like, is there any point where you're like, they did it one time here in 1987?
I know that I think it was 2020, maybe some years, just a few years ago. But breaking quorum is not this was not the first time Texas lawmakers have done this.
Yeah.
I think they did it I think it was 2020. I can't remember. I don't have the dates right in front of me. To stop the Republicans from forcing through a bill. They gerrymander these House districts to the point where Democrats cannot elect enough people to keep, a fair balance.
Mm-hmm.
So they just overload the House and the Senate, and then they force through whatever they want. And sometimes the only way, sometimes there are, folks of conscience on both sides are going to say no. But I mean, and we saw that with the impeachment of Ken Paxton. I mean, Texas House impeached a Republican attorney general because there were enough people there who, were tired of his antics or just didn't like him because he's a jerk. I don't know. But they impeached him. So sometimes it happens. Stuff like this, when the Republicans are just in lockstep, regardless of what their constituents want. And then they're going to come back home and somebody, well, why did you do that? And they're like, they'll just lie. They don't care. They'll just lie and make up crap about why, and that just like, I mean, they take their lessons from Trump in DC. Just lie about it. I'm gonna lie and say crime in DC is the worst it's ever been, and we got to bring it. And it's just not true. They do that. And no, I've not seen anything to
in the
this
past
point.
few years. Have they locked legislators in the Capitol?
Not that I know of. I've never heard of that before. I may, just because I haven't heard of it doesn't mean it doesn't happen, because somebody's going to come along and say, but I have never heard of it. I have never heard of it happening. So I don't know.
So
I know that, there are a lot of people are mad.
What are these officers supposed to do exactly?
I don't know. Follow them around, sit outside their house, make sure they don't sneak out to Oklahoma or, Chicago or New York or wherever. So, and the last time they did it, they broke quorum and went out of state. I think they went to Oklahoma. And my reporter at work, David Taffet, went up there and he says, you go to this hotel where most of them were staying, or all of them were staying. There's a big sign out front that says, I think it was Miller Brewing. One of the beer companies had this big sign outside. Miller Brewing welcomes Texas Democrats to Oklahoma City. But so it's obvious that they have support for what they do. But I've never heard of them. And of course, now you wouldn't go to Oklahoma because they're dumbasses there. Excuse me, I'm sorry. they're right wing too, and they would not do like the folks in California and Chicago and New York did to protect these folks who are out.
Say, Tammye, I'm going to ask a question that I did some reading about. Extreme.
Can we hold it until after the break?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I can tell this is going to be a good question, and we've got like 30 seconds left before we have to head into a break. So none of this conversation may be possible without our advertisers and sponsors keeping progressive radio on the air. So listen to them, shop with them, do business with them, tell them that you heard about them on The Gailey Show on AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk. Keep the conversation going. You can follow us on Blue Sky. We are at thegaileyshow.org on Blue Sky. You can also check out AM 950's e-newsletter, where you can get more information on our programs, more from The Gailey Show, ticket giveaways. Go to am950radio.com to sign up. More after the break.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Hey, Francois, why are you sitting on the sidewalk on Snelling Avenue?
Salut Laura, j'attends.
What are you waiting for?
Le State Fair.
But the state fair doesn't start until August 21st.
Oui, mais j'ai hâte de manger les macarons de Nicolette.
Oh, you can't wait for Nicholas macaroons. What flavors do they have this year?
Cotton candy, root beer float, sweet corn, and mini donuts.
Oh, and Nicolette's vintage truck will be at the West End Market, right?
Oui.
Oh, well, I'll be right back when it opens. Hold the spot in line.
Vivement le State Fair.
Minnesota State Fair.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. We know dental anxiety and dental phobia are real. We'll take the time to get to know you and give you what you need to be comfortable at all times. We offer free nitrous oxide laughing gas and have high-tech options to help you feel calm and relaxed during your appointments. We'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been going to Shambot Family Dentistry for years. They get me in last minute when I'm in pain and make regular checkups easy and comfortable.
Shambot Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at ShambotFamilyDentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Find a wide selection of outdoor hearth products at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Whether you prefer wood or gas, Woodland Stoves has the fire to fit your home. Pizza aficionados know nothing matches masonry oven baking for capturing flavor and nutrition. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces can easily install one in your home or business. Enthusiasts use these ovens year-round for bread making, wood roasting, even grilling.
The mission and passion of Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces is to make the fire work for you. The way humans relate to fire is primordial. We have used fire to warm our bodies, cook our meals, and kindle our spirits. Our team has the know-how to do this in a clean burning and environmentally smart way. Visit our store and experience the diversity. We have over 35 working units on display at the corner of Riverside and East Franklin. See us online at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that fits and works for you.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Welcome back to The Gailey Show. We are coming up on the top of the hour. The Dallas Voice just started its 42nd year as the voice of the LGBTQ community in North Texas and beyond. Tammye Nash, managing editor, joins us bi-weekly. Jim, you had a question for Tammye before the break?
I've been reading about what they call extreme gerrymandering, where somebody tries to do exactly this. They try to, twist and turn the districts in such a way that they can get more than you would normally expect out of a redistricting process, and that there's a risk to that you can make districts that you're taking voters away from more vulnerable than they would otherwise be. And I have no way of evaluating that. I suppose California could be at the same risk if they try to do what they're talking about. But has there been any talk about that in Texas, about that there's a potential downside to the Republicans?
I've heard that talked about. I've heard that mentioned. I haven't heard anybody making plans to, try to use that possibility and to retaliate that way. But when you talk about how badly gerrymandered the districts are, talk about Julie Johnson. Her district right now is up on the north side of Dallas County, up in the kind of north, I don't know, north or northwest, maybe even a little bit. But I believe what I've heard is in the redrawn maps, the new district maps, to get rid of Julie, who has always been, who in the Texas House was very effective, and has potential to be extremely effective in Congress too. But they drew that map so that her district goes from up there down the east side of Dallas and way down to Tyler, which if I get in my car and drive from my office to Tyler, which I've done, it's like 2 hours, and it's kind of south and a little bit east. I know it's a little bit south and a lot east. So you can see how they would, just imagine how they would draw that, because that area there is far more, Dallas County, very, very urban. It's one of the blue dots in Texas, and Dallas and Houston and Austin and San Antonio, even El Paso. But those are blue areas. And so what they're doing is they're working really hard to bring in a lot of the rural voters between Dallas and Tyler in that area, East Texas, rural area, more rural. I can't say the word. And I'm sorry, checking on my dad down the hall. so you can tell that it's obvious what they're doing. They're not even trying to pretend that there's anything fair about this.
Right.
Jasmine Crockett. I mean, who doesn't love Jasmine except for the GOP? I believe they specifically. I don't think they necessarily turned it red, her district, but they redrew the line so she doesn't live in that district anymore. And I mean, is that just not the most blatantly childish?
Yeah. But I'm hoping the Democratic Party in Texas says, let's pick one of these districts that we can, flip back on them. I think that would be a really smart strategy. Concentrate a lot of dollars on a lot of effort, whatever the most vulnerable seat is for the Republicans, and take one back from them. At least for self-respect, if nothing else.
It reminds me, your daily reminder that this is Manchin and Sinema. Thank you, senators, for thwarting electoral map reform during the Biden administration. It's because it's really, Tammye, is there any way to fix the maps within the state of Texas? Is there any mechanism, or is this going to have to take the federal government?
I can't answer that. Obviously, it would. State government as it stands right now, they're going to just do nothing but make it worse. Mm-hmm. And let's be honest, bring it into what the hell is that going to do for us, right? Right now, all this crap that's going on in Texas is because the federal government has intervened to push for it, to try and force Texas Republicans. I read somewhere that even Greg Abbott, didn't want to do the redistricting mid-decade. He wasn't going to do it. He wasn't, that wasn't his plan until Donald Trump called him and said, yeah, you're going to do this. And who is it? Ann Johnson? Ann Johnson is one of our state reps. She's from down around the Houston area. She is one of the LGBTQ lawmakers in the Texas House. She's in the LGBTQ caucus. And she had a statement that there's a statement that she made that's made the rounds. And it's like, even Georgia in 2020, Trump called Georgia and he's like, I need however many votes. I just need you to go out there and find me the votes. And the Georgia Republicans had the spine to stand up and say, oh yeah, no, we're not going, that's too far. You're pushing too far. We're not going to do that. That's just blatantly wrong. Yep. So then, this time around he calls Texas and Abbott's like, yeah, sure. Can we is next week good enough for you? Let me get you those 5 seats. Let me steal that for you. So, and I know that there are a lot of rallies and things going. Colin Allred, who was in Congress and resigned his seat to run against Ted Cruz and unfortunately did not beat Ted Cruz. He's running, I think, for Cornyn's seat this go round, who's our other senator. And, John Cornyn, his name is John Cornyn. He's another Republican, but he's got like a tour going on around the state, unrig the maps or unrig, redistricting little rallies and stuff he's going on. And then a lot of folks have also adopted the whole, Trump's whole stop the steal spiel from 2020. And
unfortunately,
I know that today,
I have to leave it there because we're about to wrap up here. Visit DallasVoice.com and their social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky for more of Tammye's work and the excellent award-winning reporting that the Dallas Voice does. Up next on WCPT is Chew's Views with Richard Chew. On AM 950 Radio, it's the Matt McNeil Show. Stay tuned after that for Native Roots Radio. And then at 10 p.m. Central, Step Into the Unknown with Greg Bakken on Ghost Box Radio. Until tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.